Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to another tutorial, to another video. Like I mentioned in my previous video, like I promised you guys in my previous video to make a matching top. In today's video I'm going to show you guys how to make a, well, not how to, we're just going to make a matching top for the skirt that we already have. I think by this time most of you would have been finished with your skirt, so I know you're looking forward to a top so you can actually match it together. But firstly I wanted to say thank you so much for 50,000 subscribers. We reached 50,000 subscribers last weekend, and I'm so grateful for showing up for me like that. Just the way you guys have been showing up for me means a lot, and it just gives me motivation to keep showing up for you guys as well. So thank you so much. I do not take everything for granted. It means a lot. I definitely appreciate the fact that my community is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So for everybody who likes, comments, share, subscribe, thank you. I have no other words except to say thank you. So back to the video and back to the project. In today's video we are making a matching top like I mentioned earlier. With the materials, again, I used the same medium weight yarn. I used a 2.5 for the band, the one around the armpit and the one around the neckline, and then the waist was 2.5. And then for the pattern itself, the front and the back panel, which was made with green, I used a 5.5 millimeter because I wanted to go for a free look. I didn't want like the stitches to be tight, so I decided to go for 5.5 millimeter. You're going to need some scissors, you're going to need some measurement tape for few measurements that we'll be needing. You're going to need stitch marker, and you're going to need, what else? That's honestly everything you're gonna need. Yeah, that's it. Let's get right into the tutorial. So we are going to start with the back panel, and with that I'm going to make a slip knot, and the pattern is worked in multiple of 6 plus 3. Keep that in mind. So whatever number you're going to chain for your desired bust measurement when it's divided by 2 has to be in 6, 6, 6, 6, and an additional 3 at the very end when you have your total multiple of 6. So in my case I'm chaining a total of 69. After your 69 chain, you're going to go into the fourth chain, sorry. So you're going to skip 3 chains, and into the 4th chain you're going to go with a double crochet. So the first 3 chains that we just skipped are basically double crochet, because chain 3 is the same as a double crochet. And right from there you're just going to go ahead and do 1 double crochet into every available stitch across the entire pattern. So right here I have row 1 complete. We are going to go ahead and start working on row 2. So for row 2 you're going to go ahead and chain 3 and turn. And in the next double crochet from the previous row you're going to go with a single crochet into that double crochet stitch. So right there we have a double crochet and a single crochet into the next. From here on you're going to chain 2, skip these next 2 stitches, and into the 3rd stitch you're going to go with the V-stitch pattern, which is a double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet into that same stitch. Right after you're going to chain 2 again, skip 2 stitches, and into the 3rd you're going to go with a single crochet. From here on you're going to chain 2, skip 2 stitches, and into the 3rd you're going to go with a V-stitch, which is a double crochet, chain 2, and an extra double crochet into that same very stitch. Chain 2, skip 2 stitches, and into the 3rd you're going to go with a single crochet. And this is what you're going to repeat until the very end. So do that, and I'll see you guys when I have my last few stitches. So right here I just finished my almost, actually I still have 2 more stitches left for row 2. So we are going to end the row the same way we started with the row. So remember, we had chain 3 and a single crochet into the next. So for that, we are going to go into this next stitch with a single crochet, and into this last very stitch we're going to go with 1 double crochet, and that automatically just ends the row the same way we started. So for row 3, you're going to go ahead and chain 4 and turn, and right into this V stitch we are going to work a set of clutter stitch. And to do that, you're going to yarn over and go into this chain 2 space, actually as if you're making a double crochet. So you're going to go in and then take off your yarn, and now you have 3 loops. It looks a bit crazy, but right there you can see I have 3 loops on my crochet hook. I'm going to yarn over again and go through the first 2 loops, and right there I have 2. So instead of yarning over and go through the last 2 like you would usually would for a double crochet, you're going to yarn over and insert your crochet hook right into the same chain 2 space again and pull through. And now you have 4 loops. You're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops and yarn over and pull through the last 3 loops, and that is your first clutter stitch. So usually just push this so I can have enough room, because we are going to go ahead and do 2 more into that very same stitch. So from here on, I'm going to chain 2 and repeat the same process. So I'm going to yarn over, go into the chain 2 space, grab my yarn and pull through, and now I have 3 loops. I'm going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. Afterwards, I'm going to yarn over, insert my crochet hook into the same space again, yarn over and pull through. Now I have 4 loops, going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, and then lastly I'm going to yarn over and pull through the last 3 set of double crochets. From here I'm going to chain 2 again and repeat the same clutter stitch again. And right there you just finished your first one. So from here on, you're going to chain 1, and you're going to skip this single crochet space. What am I saying? You're going to skip the single crochet space, and you're going to repeat the same clutter stitch into this chain 2 space in this V stitch again. And this is what it looks like after your second clutter stitch. From here on, you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to repeat the same pattern in every V stitch up until the last one, and I'll see you guys when I'm at the very end, end of the row together. So end of row 2, we have a chain 2, a single crochet and a double crochet. And as always, we are going to kind of end up the row the same way we started with the row. So right here we had like chain 4. So to balance off the row, we are going to skip this chain 2 and the single crochet, and you're going to go ahead and find your chain 3. Basically 1, 2, 3. Hopefully you guys can see. Yeah. So I'm basically going to find this 3rd chain in the set, and I'm going to do a treble crochet. So I'm going to yarn over twice, find that 3rd chain, and I'm going to go in there with a treble crochet, which is just basically to balance off the stitches on the opposite side of the panel. And this is what your work should look like at this point. So for row 4, we are going to go ahead and chain 3. We're chaining 4, sorry. We're going to go ahead and chain 4 and turn. And after chaining 4, again, this chain 4 for this row is a double crochet and a chain 1. The chain 4 we did for row 3 was not a double crochet and chain 1, it was a treble crochet. So this is a double crochet and chain 1. So right after that, you're going to go into this chain 2 space right here. So right here you have your first clutter stitch. You're going to go into this chain 2 space with a double crochet, chain 1, and into this next you're going to go with a double crochet and chain 1. Into this chain 1 space as well, you're going to go with a double crochet, chain 1. Into this chain 2 space, you're going to go with a double crochet, chain 1. Into the next with a double crochet and chain 1. And this is what you're going to repeat for the entire pattern until you get to the very end. Again, to end off row 4, we are going to end off the row the same way we started. So I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to find the top chain in this set of chain 4, I think, or the treble crochet. I'm going to find that top chain, and I'm going to go into the top chain with my double crochet to end off the row. And right here we have row 5 complete. So for the final row, which is row 5, you're going to go ahead and chain 3 and so on. And this is basically a double crochet row. So the chain 3 we just did is a double crochet. So from here on, you're going to slightly turn your work, because then your stitches are basically not visible this side. So easily, what you can easily do is just slightly turn it, so you can go into that next chain, or you can just basically go in there however you want to work this double crochet row. But you might face a little challenge with just having your double crochet into that loop. But you're basically going to repeat 1 double crochet into every chain and into every double crochet from the previous row to end of this row. That is what row 5 is about. So just make sure you don't skip, because I just did. Make sure you don't skip the chains, because remember from row 4 we did double crochet chain 1. So you want to make sure you're not skipping the chains, but at the same time you're not increasing as well. You want to still stick to the right amount, so keep that in mind, and just carefully go into the chains and the double crochets with 1 double crochet all around. So I'm going to repeat that, and then I'll come and show you guys what the final pattern looks like from row 1 to row 5, because that's honestly what the pattern is about for this top. Right here I have row 5 complete, and guys, this is what you're going to repeat until you have your desired length. Keep in mind that we are going to add an additional band at the very end, which is a very long band, so you have to just keep that in mind and subtract that amount from your total length. So right here, mine, you can see that this one set is basically 2.5, what am I saying, it's 2.5 inches. So you want to keep that in mind. But I'm going to go ahead and work on my back panel and then my front panel, and I'm going to come back and then we can start the next process. So right here I have my back panel complete. I did a total of 1 2 3 4 sets. Again, I'm gonna keep calling these sets because it's just very easy for me to just let you guys know how much I did instead of just counting how many rows, which I think I can do that too. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17. I did a total of 17 rows for those that want to stick to counting rows. And this is about, I think, about 12 inches, but also keep in mind that this is a very stretchy stitch. So if depending on how you want your feet to be, you have to keep the length, the stretchiness of the feet also in mind. But it's currently 11, but again stretches all the way up to 15 inches. So this is what it looks like. For the front panel, you're going to repeat the same exact process. The only difference is it's going to be shorter compared to the back panel because we are going to make a V-stitch. So you're going to do 2 sets instead of 4 sets. So basically 2 sets, and then you're going to come back and then we're going to decrease for the 2 ends. So we are still going to go ahead and do the 2 sets on the front panel. The only thing is we are going to do that separately while we are decreasing on the set as well. So I wanted to come on and show you guys what I have going on. I have this for the for the front panel. This is what I have so far. I mentioned that I was going to do just 3 sets of the entire pattern, but 3 sets actually just stops right there. And if I do, this is going to be a very deep neckline, and that's not what I'm going for. So instead of having 3 sets, what I did for the third set, 2 sets, sorry, instead of having 2 sets, I started working on the third set. So I basically did row 2 and row 3. So you know the pattern is worked full from row 2 to row 5. So 2 3 4 5. So what I did was I worked right there. You can see that we have the first set ends right there where this double crochet stitches, and the second set ends there, and you can see that we have 2 more rows at the very top right there. 1, 2. So right there I did the 2 rows. So this actually comes up because now I have a V-stitch bodysuit on, so this is perfect for me to just align this to my body. So I want, again, like I mentioned, I want the waistband to fit right around my waist. So I made sure that I made this so even when it stretches, it actually just fits right underneath my underbust part, and then the neckline is not too deep, if you guys understand what I mean. So this is what I have going on. So I'm gonna go to the table and we can start decreasing and working on the neckline. So because we have 4 sets for the back panel, which means in total we need to have 4 sets. So I'm going to finish the 2 rows and for the 3rd set, and then we are going to do the final set. Of course, we're going to do everything at the table. Again, we're going to decrease. What I also wanted to do was also show you guys when it comes to the decreasing, to see where exactly you need to. As usual, as always, you always have to like divide your panel into 2. So you have the centerpiece, and the centerpiece is basically going to be right in between your boobs, because that is how you're going to identify where to start. So I'm going to use this clutter stitch, the centerpiece, to be right there, which means I can either decide to decrease from this side upwards, or just like the top that I have on, I can actually decide to go in a little bit outwards so I can have just a wider neckline. But because we are going to do a V, we are going to put something around the V neck, I don't know if this is going to be a good idea, but let me put this across my body. So I'm going to just show, hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. I think I want to go for this no, we are going to just stick to the basic V neckline. So let's go to the table and I'll show you guys how you can get that done. So guys, after finishing your 3, so 2 or 3 in your 3rd set, we are going to go ahead and start decreasing. But remember, we are decreasing at the center, so you can just go ahead and fold your panel into 2 and mark the center stitch, just so you're sure. But again, I usually just start my row. So to start the row, you're going to start just the same way you would start a row 4, which is chain 4, and you're just going to repeat the double crochet, chain 1, double crochet pattern until you get to that center part of the panel. So right here you can see that I just worked my way to the half of this panel. This right here, I'm going to just count the clutter stitch so I can have the center. 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. So this clutter stitch right at the center is going to be my center piece. So this is going to be the guide for me to go back so I can actually do the decrease, which is going to be done just at the center of the panel. So right here we have a 1st and 2nd and then the last clutter stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chain 1 and go into this chain 1 space right there, and right from there I'm going to go ahead and turn without chaining anything, because we are going to decrease, so we don't have to chain anything. So I'm going to turn because we are going to work backwards to the opposite side of the panel. So after turning, I'm going to just keep this chain 1 space and go into the next chain 1 space with a double crochet. So you're basically skipping the chain 1 and then a double crochet, which is kind of like 2 decrease, but it's fine. So you're going to skip chain 1 and then the double crochet, and into this next chain 1 space you're going to go with a double crochet, because remember chain 5 is actually a double crochet row, so you still want to repeat the double crochet row. So you're going to go into this next double crochet with a double crochet, and you're just going to repeat 1 double crochet up until the very end. You're only decreasing at that very first stitch, and it's going to look a little bit awkward because obviously you're decreasing, which means you're going to have some awkward moment around the pattern, but we're going to definitely have that fixed. Again, like I mentioned guys, we are not decreasing on this side of the panel, so you want to make sure that you go all the way to that very last stitch so you're not decreasing on the side. So because we just finished row 5, which means now we have 3 set on this part, we are going to go ahead and repeat the 1 set. So now we're going to start all over. So we're going to start from row 2, which is chain 3. You're going to single crochet into this next double crochet stitch. You're going to chain 2, skip the first 2 stitches, go into the third with a double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet all into that same space. You're going to chain 2 again, skip the next 2 stitches, and into the next you're going to go with a single crochet, chain 2, skip the next 2, and into the third you're going to go with your V stitch. And this is what I'm going to repeat until I get to the very center, and we're going to end off the row and start with the next row. So right here you guys can see that I have 1, 2, 3, about 1, 2, 3 stitches, 2 actually, because this is attached to this. So we have 1, 2, and 1.5. I don't know how we're going to work that thing out, but we are going to just go ahead. I just did my single chain 2 single crochet right there. So I'm going to end off the row with chain 2, and I'm going to skip the next 2 stitches and go into the third with a double crochet, and this automatically ends the row. It does end the row a little bit different from how we started, but it's totally fine because we're decreasing, so it really doesn't matter. What matters is how we end the row. We start the row on this side, so we can have a straight panel on this side while this side is going to be decreasing, so it doesn't really matter how we end of the row. So I'm going to turn, and then to start working on row 3, and the decrease pattern is going to be, you're going to skip, because usually when you start working on row 3 you're going to go into this first clutter stitch, into this V stitch with your first clutter stitch. But what we are going to do, but then you chain 4, right? But because we're decreasing, we're not chaining anything. We are going to skip that entire single crochet space, and we are going to go right into this with our first clutter stitch. Guys, work with me. I know it looks crazy, but that's what we're going to do. So you're going to yarn over and just repeat the clutter stitch pattern. And again, it's going to look a bit crazy, but you can see the decreasing being done right there. So again, you're going to chain 2 and of course repeat the entire pattern until you get to the very edge. So right there, I just finished row 3. So to get started with row 4, we are going to again chain 4, and we are going to repeat a double crochet chain 1 for the entire pattern. So you're going to go into this first chain 2 space with your double crochet, because this chain 4 is the same as a double crochet chain 1, and from there you're going to chain 1 and just repeat your double crochet chain 1 until you get to the very center of the piece again. Right there, I just finished my double crochet chain 1 double crochet space. Remember, we started with the row with a clutter stitch, which is this first 3 stitch, so which means we are going to go ahead and end off the row with a clutter stitch, but then I'm going to just stop right at the chain 1 between the first and the second. So I hope you guys can see these stitches very well, but right there is the first stitch, and then the second chain 2, sorry, and then the second chain 2, and then the third. Usually would chain 2 and then we'll have like a chain 1, a chain 3, sorry, in this area, but because we are decreasing, you can see that we don't have anything because we're decreasing, and it's slanted. Basically you have nothing there, so you're just going to end your chain 1 there. So I chained 1, and then I went into this last chain 2 space with my double crochet. So for the final row, which is your row 5, you're going to chain 3 and turn. This is the final row because again I'm doing just 4 sets in total for the front and the back panel, so you want to make sure the front panel has the same amount to the back panel. So for chain 5, which is the final row, you're going to go with to every chain 1 space, and then into every double crochet with a double crochet. So right there you can see that I did not decrease for this final row. I just chain 3, and then I'm just going to do 1 double crochet all around. And guys, that is the end of the decrease pattern, and this is what it looks like, making a lot of sense. So I'm going to repeat the same process, of course, on the opposite side of the panel. Right there, I'm going to chain I'm going to attach my yarn, work my way to the center cloth to stitch again. So I'm going to skip this and right into this chain 2 space. I'm going to stop right there and go back and forth the same way I did this side. And when I have that complete, I'm going to come back with the back panel so we can attach the two together and attach the rest of the pieces together, guys. We are almost there. We are almost done. Back panel and then the front panel right there. So from here on, we're going to do the usual, which is just attaching these two with a single crochet. So you can start from this end or from this end to the very end, whatever you want to do. And then when it comes to the armpit hole, of course, you are going to be using your armpit hole measurement to determine how wide you want this to be. You're going to divide your armpit hole measurement by 2. In my case, mine is going to be about 16 inches. Usually it's actually 14, but because I want to have enough room to move my arms, I'm going to stick to 15 for this. I'm going to go for 16 instead of 14, so which means it's going to be 8, because 8 divided by 8 multiplied by 2 gives you 16. I don't know what I'm saying, which is going to be 16. So right from there, I'm going to attach this tiny bit together with a single crochet. I'm going to do the same thing. I don't want to do this on camera because I feel like you guys already know what the deal is for this method. So I'm going to do this off camera and I'm going to come back and then we'll do the next process. We're going to take the measurement of your vest, and right now mine is about 10, let's just say 10 inches because it stretches. So 10 inches is a little bit too short. So you're going to take your exact measurement of how you want the vest to be. So after this one, you're going to subtract the amount. Like for example, I want mine to be about 15 inches. Now that this is 10, I'm going to make a band that is 5 inches long, so that band can balance off the remaining inches from the top. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and in the next clip I'm going to show you guys how you can work that. We are going to need 3 different bands like I mentioned earlier. You're going to need 2 for the armpit hole area, 1 for the lower part, and then another one for the neckline, and that's honestly it. So you're going to need 1 for your waist, you're going to need 2 for your armpit area, and you're going to need 1 for the neckline. So the one for your waist is obviously longer compared to the rest because I chained a total of 30, and for the one for the waist, for the armpit hole and the 2 armpit hole I did 10, and the one for the neck I did about 7 chains. Of course I'm going to show you, but this is just a basic single crochet and the back loop for the entire row until you have a desired length. If you've seen the skirt tutorial, then you already know that the waist for the top is the same length as the waist for the skirt, because I just wanted it to just be the same length. So it's the same length. All I did was chain 31, went into the back loop, went into the first row with single crochet, back loop, back loop, back loop, back and forth until I have my desired waist measurement. This for the band, you're going to go ahead and make a slip knot. I am going to use 11 for this example, but I already explained that depending on what you're making, you're going to make different length, and obviously the length is also optional. You can make your armpit area wide if you want it to be, you can make the waistband shorter if you want it to be shorter, you can make the neckline wider if you want it to be wider. This is definitely optional. So but then I'm using the 2.5 for this. I need to mention that I'm using the 2.5 for this band, for all the bands actually. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 11. After chaining 11, I'm going to go into the second chain with a single crochet, and I'm going to repeat 1 single crochet into every chain until I get to the very end. So at the end I shall have a total of 10 single crochets. So this is what it should look like after your first row. So you're going to chain 1 and turn, and this time around we're going to repeat single crochet rows, but we are going to go into the back loop. So I usually just slightly lay the rows like this so I can go into these back loops from the previous row. So I'm just going to go into that first one with a single crochet again, and of course I'm going to repeat 1 single crochet into the back loop of every single crochet from the previous row, which basically leaves you with 10 single crochet at the end of this row as well. So from here on, I'm going to chain 1 again, and I'm going to repeat 1 single crochet in the back loop. So I'm just going to go into that back loop, but right there you can just see I'm repeating the 1 single crochet into every loop until the very end. To the row. So this is what I'm going to repeat. Don't forget to chain 1 at the very beginning, because that's going to make sure your work does not get narrow as well. And you're going to repeat this for whatever desired width you're going for. So you're basically going to take your armpit hole measurement, and you're going to just go ahead and make this as long as that measurement. You can make it as wide. Make sure there's enough room for you to move your arms around. So I did, I think, a total of 16 inches in total, and I'm just going to repeat that. You're going to do 2 of these, obviously, for your armpit. You're going to do the same method for your waist, but obviously it's going to be longer, and you're going to do the same method for the neckline, but that is going to be just a few chains shorter. So I'm going to get all the pieces complete, and I'm going to come back and so we can attach everything together, because now everything is just everywhere. Hey guys, so right here I have the pieces actually complete now. So I have my 4. I have the 2 for the armpit hole, and then I have the 1 for the waistband, and then the 1 for the neckline I also have complete. So these are the 4 actually in total that you're going to be needing to finish off the top. So I'm just simply going to attach everything with the same method. We're not doing anything different. We're using the same method. But then I'm going to go ahead and use the green yarn for the attachment. And I think the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I attach the band inwards, so I want the seam. So I'm using a single crochet for that method. So when I do that, I am going to have the single crochet stitches around the side, and I just like the finishing that it gives. It just makes it look way more better. So what I'm going to do in this case, you guys can tell that the waistband obviously is smaller than this part of the top, but the reason is obviously because the bust is way bigger than the side of your waist. So you're just kind of going to find a way to just make sure this gets into the waistband like this. So you're basically going to shrink the top with the band. So I'm just going to grab my yarn, and then I'm going to attach that with a slip knot. Decide however where you want the seam to be. I think I'm just going to leave the seam at the side for me, but you can leave this at the middle, wherever you want the seam to be, but I'm just going to leave mine at the side. So right here I'm going to just grab my yarn and just at the side, and I'm going to attach this to the side of the top as well, and just make a secure knot to secure this together. And then from here on, I'm just going to go ahead and single crochet the 2. So you're going to make sure you open your band, of course, and you're just going to go into that first stitch, and then you're going to chain 1. You can use a slip stitch for this method, but I'm going to use a single crochet, and just in the next available space you're just going to go in there and start single crocheting both of the panel together, like in the next available space on the band as well, on the top as well. Sorry, you're going to go in there and single crochet, and this is basically what I'm going to repeat again. Keep in mind that the band is smaller than the edge of the top, so but then you can stretch this. That's also another method you can use, because while you're stretching this you have more available spaces to actually attach the band to the skirt, to the top, sorry. And that is honestly what I'm going to repeat all around, and when I'm done I'll come back and show you guys what the final look is, and you're going to just do the same thing for the armpit hole as well. So right here I have the 2 armpit hole band attached as well. I still have to cut off the entire yarn. I have yarn all over the place, but we're going to have that fixed. So with the band for the neck, obviously guys, you know, this is optional. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. With the band for the neck, this is how it looks. We're going to do something a bit, I want it to like lap like this. I'm not sure if that's why I don't want to like lock it. I kind of want it to lap like that, or maybe I can make it like a drawstring. I don't know. I added the length. I didn't want to make this super long, so eventually it doesn't like fall over the pink, because then I think it's gonna look too much. I just want it to fall right about this area, so you can have the dimension between the pink and the green. And for attachment, I'm just going to use the same method I used for these two. So I'm going to use the green yarn, and I'm going to attach these slightly inwards, so basically right from there, and I'm going to go all around and stop to the opposite end. With the alignment, you want to just make sure that you can use a stitch marker for this. So you're just going to divide this by 2 and make sure the centerpiece is going to be at the centerpiece at the back. That way you're going to have the right amount attached and then the right amount left for the opposite side. That's just the easiest way. Or you can also align these two. That's also another method, and then you just attach. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to put this on, and that's actually the end of the video. Honestly, that's it.